Oh yeah.
Here we go.
Woo! Fantastic. Ah, wow. And that starts us off. So I'm Luke, and this is an episode of Drum Addicts, and I have the intense pleasure today of welcoming Mr. Scott Pellegrom,
Hey.
all the way from America. Is that right?
Yeah, Michigan.
You're in Michigan. Lovely. Yeah, pleasure to meet you, Scott, and thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah, brilliant. So Scott's here today to talk to us a little bit about Dream Cymbals, which is a new line for us here at Andertons, a new product that we're going to be selling, and it's a cymbal company that we really like, a cymbal company that I personally play myself and have a lot of respect for and a lot of enjoyment out of playing their stuff. And so we thought Scott would come here and just tell us a little bit about what he thinks of Dream and why you play them and what you get out of them.
Why the Dream? It's interesting. I was in Nova Scotia playing at the Cape Breton International Drum Festival in 2009, I think it was. And a buddy of mine called and said, hey, there's this new company I'm working with, and they're called Dream Cymbals, that you should check them out while you're at the show performing. And I thought, okay. And I went and checked out the line, and they had, at that time, there was a lot of the Bliss crashes and rides.
Yeah.
And the moment I started to touch them, I noticed that they had like a lot of feel to them and a lot of flex.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And they're really, really dark, and you know, it reminded me of a lot of the sound that I was always searching for. And then when I met everyone in the company, I kind of fell in love with the personnel behind it, because everyone's just lovely people, and they really love what they do, and everyone involved are great percussionists and drummers who are, you know, full time. So it was just kind of a really good match all around, from the gear, the product, and the vision behind the dream team. So it's
Yeah,
good.
yeah, they're great cymbals. So a little bit about Dream. They're based in Canada. Their cymbals are manufactured out of the Wuhan district of China. They're all pretty much handmade, as I understand it, and they are just wonderful, like you say, really dark, really complex cymbals. They've only been going since 2005, I think, the company, so they're relatively new, but they've made a huge impression, and their products are just great. And we
Fantastic.
Really like them.
And one of the things that I really dig about them, especially like with the Bliss line, Vintage Bliss, Paper Thins, all that stuff, is that they age beautifully. It's one of those things where like the cymbal will sound great when you first check it out, but the longer you work it, the longer you play them, you know, they soak up the sweat and the oils and the smoke and everything around them.
Yeah.
And they age beautifully, so each cymbal you have will be very, very distinct.
Yeah, they take on a lot of character, and I think as a Dream player myself, I've not been too worried about kind of, you know, they, like you said, they age quite well, and they take on a new character the older they get, and that's a really nice thing to have in a cymbal. So yeah, just I want to talk a little bit about you and your thing. So how was the flight over from Michigan? Was it all right?
It actually wasn't that bad.
No?
It's the first time in my travels going, you know, overseas where I fell asleep almost the moment I hit the plane and woke up as we were landing. So that was really good. It took a few days. I had my mojo, and then a couple days ago my jet lag hit for a little bit, and then, you know, pop right back, and I'm feeling
What is it,
good.
like 6 hours, 7 hours?
We're 7 hours into the future here.
Right.
So it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Britain, ahead of the verb. I like it. Ahead of the curve.
Ahead of the curve.
Cool, we'll cut that. That's fine. That's fine. Hey! Wicked. So, I mean, when I was sort of, I mean, I've sort of followed you for a little while. I got into Dream when I was about 16, 17, and like the REFX was a big advert that kind of flagged up for me when I was sort of getting into Dream. And so I've just kind of been like on your Instagram and stuff. And one of the things I noticed about it is it's refreshingly raw. Like you kind of get an idea and you just play, and there's some cool stuff that comes out on that, like, you know, the kind of the scarves on the drums and the you know, shakers and squeaky toys and stuff. It's good fun. It's nice. It's so like that style, like kind of where did that come from? Because I see in like other interviews you refer to yourself as a rhythmist.
Rhythmist, yeah. That was kind of a terminology that someone threw at me years and years ago, but it kind of played back. Like it's funny because for the most part, when I was coming up as a drummer, I was like a in-the-closet drummer. I was really shy to let people know that I was a drummer. Someone asked me to play, I would get red in the face and just kind of hide. But then I would go down to the basement and I would play for hours and hours and hours to big band stuff, to Nirvana, to Pantera. And I was really shy in public to play. And one day I just kind of had to say, you know, forget about it and just let it go. You are who you are, and start playing. And the moment I started to just release that and get comfortable with being a drummer, I really started to get into improvisation. I started to get into expressing. I started to check out drummers that had like new and unique ideas that maybe have been a little bit avant-garde.
Yeah, sure.
So it's kind of like that with like my Instagram page. My whole thing is just to be like, here's the idea, or here's the moment I sat down today and played. You know, check it out. Let's share it with the world. People can judge it.
Yeah.
First touch of the day is like one of those things, and I just want to say, because like with the YouTube generation and Instagram generation, there's so many amazing drummers, and there are people who spend all day recording, making beautiful videos and everything. You don't know if it's their first take or their 30th take, and what plugins are in, what's edited, or if anything's quantized. And it can be intimidating coming up when you're young, I would think, when you see these drummers that just sound beautiful and everything's worked out. And I just want to say, like, hey, here's the reality. This is how the drums sound. Here's me playing to a phone, and nothing's monkeyed with at all.
Yeah,
so
it's great.
I wanted to do it that way, you know?
Yeah, and of course, when I said, you know, that it's professionally raw, I mean, of course, there's also tremendous talent on display there. You know, the videos are fantastic.
Well, thanks.
Great. No,
sometimes.
No, of course. no, yeah, I just wouldn't want to, that goes without saying, but it doesn't go without saying sometimes, you know. So it's great, it's good stuff, and it's nice to see. And I like that attitude. It's not, like you say, it's good to see, like the first touch is interesting, because a lot of other, videos have that thing where who knows how long they've been working at it. Of course it's perfect.
Of course, yeah.
So,
and I think that's intimidating. And the reality is that, you know, the drums are live and they're raw. And a lot of our favorite music rushes and drags. A lot of them are, you know, maybe everything wasn't mixed perfectly or had some bleed in it, but it was real. And that's where like the emotion comes from and the expression comes from. There's a lot of bands that I listen to where you can hear where parts kind of rush and drag in a very popular song. And that's the human element.
Yeah.
You know, that's the art.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
And I think it's important for people to see that we aren't robots. You can practice to be as perfect and mapping everything, you know, we even have programs so you can see where you were on or off. And that's great because that develops your concentration and level of focus. But also we are humans and we have to kind of express the human condition. And I think that's kind of the raw, organic approach that I really want to be out there. So people aren't self-conscious or worried like, oh, I don't sound so perfect, or, you know.
Yeah.
I want it to be encouraging
yeah,
to say,
go for it.
here's me, yeah, I made some mistakes in this video, but this is what I'm working on, or this is the idea I had. It's not perfect, but this is where I'm trying to head. So I want it to be hopefully somewhat inspiring for people.
Yeah, definitely. I think that attitude is perhaps reflected in the Dream cymbals as in a way, like because each cymbal is, you know, unique. Especially take the Bliss line, for example, where, you know, they're all hand hammered and handmade, so they are. You know, each one is unique and dark in its own way. They obviously will sound similar if you get two of the identical cymbals, but because they're so, you know, so handmade and handcrafted, there are subtle differences between each one, and that's kind of a great selling point for me. I think it really plays into the company really
Absolutely.
well. Yeah.
It is one of those things that I tell people, like, you'll find a cymbal and there will be a consistency on what the concept is, but if you find a cymbal that you like, it will be your cymbal.
grab
there will
that
be
one.
nothing like it, you know, so it kind of helps to your sound. And I really like that because it's hard to stand out this day and age. I mean, there's so many beautiful players, there's so many different products, you know, and a lot of knowledge is out there.
Yeah.
And I think it's unique to be able to find things that can just be your thing. And that's one of the things I really dig about the Dream products, is that they are unique. And like we said, they do age beautifully.
Yeah.
They get better and better.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess we've talked about like what attracted you to Dream cymbals and stuff, and where you first kind of got them. So like, I mean, you must play a huge variety of Dream cymbals just from looking, like I say, at your social media and stuff. Are there any like stalwarts, any favorites, anything that has to be on the kit, anything that, you know, you probably will always have one of those in your bag or at a gig?
It's tricky because for me, I try to shake things up. Like every time I play, unless it's session work, and when we're listening, we go, we need this sound, we need this idea, and I kind of have the database of the cymbals and the drums that I have at the studio, so I know what we might need. But other than that, every time I sit down and play, I want it to be tuned differently, set up differently, different heights.
Right.
You know.
Cool.
So it's like that with cymbals. But one cymbal that I've been madly in love with is the 22-inch. Flat ride, the Dark Matter.
Oh, the Flat Earth ride.
Yeah, Flat Earth. Yeah.
The tiny little bell on the thing.
It's
Yeah.
really tiny.
Yeah.
You know, you can just get a little sound out of that bell. But that cymbal has been on so many gigs. I mean, I have used that. I think it was on. Oh my gosh, probably every recording I've done the last 3 or 4 years. It has been a part of it. And the engineers, it's specifically from them. They're like, we want that ride because they just love it. It mics up beautifully, it speaks beautifully, and you can lay into it a bit and it doesn't open up so much. So you can get a lot of kind of sass from it, but it just sounds great. And when you're mixing the tracks, that ride is just beautiful. Like we've been doing tracks where we'll just put 2 mics on the ride and just play it, and then we'll put it so we can pan it through the mix depending on where the song's going.
Nice.
So it's really that ride, if anything, it's like, I love that.
Do you find it quite versatile then, that particular
Oh
one?
yeah. I beat it up. I use it. It's one of those things where I at least always have it in the bag. I started using the Eclipse, which I actually, to be honest, didn't know if I'd like it because it is a bit brilliant.
Yeah.
You know? And when I got it, I threw it on the ground and jumped on it. That's how I break in my cymbals, is I walk on all of them and jump on them, and I try to, if they're able to flip in.
This is required listening for drummers.
Yeah. Disclaimer: you're not gonna, you know, this will probably void your warranty.
Yeah.
But you know, like you always hear stories of people like, you know, throwing cymbals in fires and digging a big hole and covering them and letting them sit. But for me, like I'd take a cymbal and I just pounce on it, and I get to feel how it flexes, and you can start to kind of feel it give and settle a bit. And after I did that, I put up pretty much this ride right here, and it's like, wow, So for a little bit, I had like a love affair where I had like the flat ride over here and the 21, and I became kind of like I use ride cymbals only. You know, it became like that thing for a while.
Well, I use so I've got 2 Bliss crash rides in 18 and 19, and when I bought those, I stopped using crashes basically because they they're so versatile in the way that you can approach your way you play them.
Right.
The stick definition on them, will do for a ride sound if you want a higher pitched ride sound or a lower pitched ride sound, but they also speak incredibly easily, and they're really nice cymbals to play and crash on for that reason. So yeah, they're just. And they're cool, good cymbals. All right. So like, so your play style is obviously quite unique, and it's one thing that I quite like about the way you play, and obviously one of the things that works quite well with Dream cymbals. This is one of those very cliche questions, but what kind of developed your style? What where did that, was it to do with the rhythm of this thing and how, and like the like trying to express yourself better? Like what sort of?
It's a tricky question, the
way you play now.
If I really start talking about it deeply, we'll be here for hours and hours and hours,
sure,
if not days. But like the cliff notes is most of us start hitting things at an early age. It's spoons, it's knives, forks, pots, pans, trash cans, the coffee table, the dashboard of the car and stuff. And that's really how I started, and that's how, on my way to a drum lesson, when I was young, I'd be banging on the dashboard, and my dad would yell at me, but he still encouraged it because he knew that I really loved doing it, and then I'd be leaving the lesson doing that. And for a little bit, I started to get away from it because I got excited about massive drum kits and double bass and all of this stuff. And then, when I graduated high school, I did university for about a year, and then I moved out west, and I was always in an apartment. So I wasn't able to just set up a drum kit and practice. So I had to find a different way to be able to practice.
Yeah.
And so, I was always able to have a snare drum and brushes, which was a huge element. And then sometimes, my buddies and I might go out and have a couple beers, and we'd come back to the apartment. And one of the things we would do is they would say, okay, let's play. So I'd start playing, and then they'd start throwing stuff at me.
Right.
And here's a credit card, and here's keys and, all this stuff. And then it started to just be this thing where I'm like, there's music everywhere.
Yeah.
Urban life, to the woods, and that balance just kept me really inspired. Whether I'm listening to a river or a storm coming in or just massive traffic in like Manhattan, all of it was music. And I thought, wow. And I remember one of the times that really struck with me is I saw Zakir Hussain and the Masters of Percussion in Portland, Oregon. And he told an entire story of his day with just a few gestures and then playing. And when he got done, he said, what did I do today? And everybody knew what he did. He told an entire story without saying anything.
Okay, yeah.
And he had this way of just saying, I woke up and I did this, and then I got into the cab, and you could see the traffic was crazy and things were running late. And that just I had tears in my eyes at that moment. I was like, this is unbelievable. So
great storytelling.
It is storytelling, exactly. And that's when I started to say, that's why Papa Joe Jones resonates with me, or other players. I mean, there's so many players, but people can communicate beautifully just through rhythm and from colors and textures and dynamics. And that's kind of how the rhythmist thing started to come about. It's whatever it is. All this stuff has music. Everything is musical. And
like the best kick sound you've ever heard sometimes could be like the floor, that one floorboard in that house.
It just
works.
Yeah.
There's a great band, I don't know if we can name them, so I'm not going to, but they recorded the kick sound for their album, and they put a Veta Bomber type kick drum against a fridge, right? And the fridge just had that sort of that they wanted.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess you can find the right sound anywhere, and like you said, there's music all over the place.
It's all over, and it's one of those things too. Is that if you can hone into making a lighter or a matchbox or a dresser or something very musical, what could you do with the entire kit? It's the same thing as if you strip away just the hi-hat and just focus on playing the hi-hat and the stand, and then just the snare drum, and then just the ride, and so on and so forth. When you start to bring them back together, they have this beautiful range of expression, and you can use their personalities to communicate together or even mimic one another. And that was one of those things is that, when I play out, I typically use kick, snare, hats, and like a ride cymbal.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll mix things up, but that's my challenge is it's very challenging to try to make things speak in like a minimalist approach.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I think a lot of people will probably go to maybe if they went to a gig and there wasn't any toms, they'd have an episode and be like, well, how am I going to play my fills? It's like, well, you've got to invent a way to do that better and get the music out in some other way. For example, using one of these beautiful rides to do that kind of thing. In fact, actually, that conversation reminds me of a brilliant TED talk I saw, like a TEDx that you did in, is it Muskegon? Am I pronouncing that right?
That was in Muskegon, yeah.
Muskegon, yeah. Yep. Which again, I think is like required, it should be mandatory listening for like every drummers, because like there's this wonderful scene where you kind of just destroy this ride and push it down, and it's like, well, it can take it. So experiment and try different things. So I think that's a good kind of thing that people should be aware of, and you can use these symbols in any way that will give you the music that you want to try and play and deliver. And
it's getting to know the instrument too, so you know what its limits are, if there are any. And I remember that TED Talk, because I've done a few things with like the TEDx stuff. I was only to be there to like do a quick performance, and just before one of the speakers canceled, and they just asked me if I would do something, and I'm like, well, sure. And I was like, that's my life, is improvise, never know what you're going to do, just put yourself out there, and maybe you're going to say something silly. And it's nerve-wracking when you have all these intellectuals and everyone's hanging out, and I'm like,
all taking notes.
I'm a drummer, and here I am. I don't have any bullet points or anything. I don't have any pictures to display, but it is that element, and it is funny because I'll use like the 22-inch paper thin. And you can almost taco that thing all the way.
Yeah, I've seen.
It's crazy.
I've seen them do it. It's crazy. It boggles the mind.
Yeah, people you get really nervous, like, oh no, it's gonna it's gonna break, or I'm gonna end up in the ER or something with
yeah, definitely.
A death by cymbal.
Has it ever happened to you? Have you ever popped one? Have you ever like?
I have not. I actually haven't broken. The only cymbal that I remember breaking, I was 14, and I was devastated because it was a very lovely cymbal.
Playing a lot of Nirvana covers at the time? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
And tightening everything down. But when I broke the cymbal, it broke in a very interesting way, where it just fell off the stand and the bell was kind of still there.
Oh, right.
It was like the weirdest thing. But then that helped me create like the crop circle and the Naughty Sorcerer, because I started using this cymbal and stacking everywhere at a really young age. I always called it the trash can. And then, I started to realize that you could do stuff with cymbals can be looked at slightly differently. But yeah, I haven't broken a cymbal in so long, and I do abuse them. I actually like jump kick them at times, and they handle it. And again, like a lot of it, especially with the Bliss, is that flex, is that if you watch it in slow motion, it really like bubbles and waves.
Yeah. So like a lot of heavier players, or players that play heavier styles, I should say, will automatically go for like your super thick kind of stock cymbal because it says heavy rock ride on it or whatever. And Dream doesn't really do that, does it? It's kind of like this is a Bliss crash, this is a crash ride, and I think maybe that's something that people should explore. Is that if you want to go for a louder style, you want to abuse your cymbal a bit more, maybe go for something thinner, something more flexible, because it will deliver that kind of performance. So yeah, regarding the crop circles and stuff, then, so they've been out for a while now, haven't they? Because they haven't been to the UK for, well, they obviously are now, but I remember seeing them when I was, I don't know, a couple of years ago now. It was a thing that you developed with Dream, right?
Yeah, it was. Gosh, I don't even really know. I think I've been an artist with Dream. What is it? 2017, so we'll go in 2018. It'll probably in next year. I think it'll be 9 years.
Right.
And within the first couple of years, I started to develop it. Because I already had the idea and I was using similar things. But then we started to talk, and they were saying, hey, we have this Reflex program where we're doing all this new stuff.
Reflex, is it? Sorry.
Yeah, Reflex, yeah. And I said, well, I think I have an idea, and we talked about it. And said, well, let's try it. So we came up with a bunch of different concepts, and then, luckily, like Instagram and things weren't really popping off at that time.
No.
I didn't really post any pictures or share anything, and then we did kind of like a soft release, I believe at like a PASIC convention, and then did the release at NAMM 5 or 6 years ago already. I think,
Yeah, for sure, because I remember seeing the advert. In fact, if you wouldn't mind taking it off, we'll just show the guys on the camera what we're talking about. So this is a crop circle. This is developed by Scott with Dream Cymbals.
Yeah.
It's something that we can get here at Andertons, and they're really exciting. Just little effect pieces that you can just throw on the kit, and you must, obviously you use it to tremendous effect in the way you play. So it's something that you can use on your head, your ride, crash,
cymbals,
whatever.
you can hang it off, like you can even dangle it. If it's something close, you can use it like that, almost kind of like a crasher. And that was something that I liked too, is that when you're a working drummer, you're loading in, setting up, playing, tearing down, loading out. You have a lot of gear, so small kits are nice to have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you don't want to have 6 toms and 10 cymbals, because it just gets grueling and tiring. But what I do like is the accessory type stuff where you can just throw some things on and you get a new idea, a new sound. You can take it off, and you're seeing that it's definitely a big trend, and I'm really excited that's happening now in the industry. Is that accessories are really cool. And that was one of those things where I'm like, well, you can just throw it, and if you need it, you can use it, and if you don't, it's there just in case you do need it.
Yeah, and they're really cool. Would you mind just kind of playing a little bit with one for us? Is that's cool?
Yeah, we do. And this is the 10-inch, and then we have a 14 as well. But I'll just kind of show you how we can move it around the kit. Even here, when it's smaller on the snare, you get this kind of cool sound, right? So you can use it as part of your backbeat, like a electronic hand clap. Or you can bring it through. Right, you get those sounds. Even it's pretty hip too, on a smaller sound. So it's a mixture that you can kind of put it anywhere you want, and it's really up to you on how you do it. And you get even a different sound if it's upside down, right? You get a cool fuzz off of it.
Yeah.
Versus here. You could even use it, this way. So it's kind of up to you on what you want to do with it, but again, it fits beautifully in a cymbal bag, and you can just pull it out when you need it.
Yeah, great.
I tend to always use it, especially if I'm playing smaller pubs and microbreweries and stuff like that, where things need to be down in volume. Throw some rags on the drums, but if you want to tame your crash down, versus
Sweet, yeah.
So again, it can function as a lot of different things, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a very, very, very cool little piece. So let's talk a little bit about the Naughty Sorcerer, as we call it in the UK. The Naughty Sorcerer.
The Naughty Sorcerer. Yeah.
So we got one of those jammed inside our hi-hats there. Is that right?
Yep. Oh yeah, that's right. Snuck it in there. So what you can do, this is a beautifully thin one, so you can,
Wow. It's like a vinyl.
yeah, so you can get some cool effects like that. I started doing this first with a crop circle, putting it on the bottom for a while to dry it out. And then I did it with the Naughty Sorcerer and said, okay, that works. And then again, it's just all about being able to move things around the kit. See if I can get this back on here. So again, let's do some things. So if you take the hi-hat and see what it sounds like right here. Again, throw it over here. And then you can throw it around. So it's 14, so it's beautiful for your 14 snare. Or you throw it on the floor tom and stuff like that. And then, you know, if you can get it to balance, because this is a bit of a smaller snare drum, still, you just get these beautiful things. And I love this type of stuff too, like when you're recording, I've been getting really turned on to like, maybe I play the entire drum kit for a track, but then I'll go back and like overdub another part.
Yeah, sure.
Or I'll write the beat in my head, and then I'll just play the hats, then go back and do the snare and stuff, so you can get these beautiful sounds, and then you can put them anywhere you want in the mix.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things too, just... It can be another good stacker. It can be
Amazing,
really trashy.
yeah.
So it's one of those things I dig it, and I just thought I wanted something that had a bit more playing surface than just the crop circle.
Yeah.
And this was kind of, originally we were gonna like call it like the cymbal donut or something. You know, it was kind of in there. And when I had it, I just kept it to myself. And then after a while, I saw that, you know, people are really digging on the crop circle. I thought, well, maybe people will dig this as well, and I want to see what people do with it, which is really exciting. You know, when people message you on Instagram or something, say, hey, check this out, I did this, and you get another new
great,
idea,
yeah.
and you get to see, like, this is my initial idea and what we developed, and then I get to see what everyone else does, which is the beautiful part of just the drumming community in general, is that the way anyone would play this kit is going to be different.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so it's really exciting to see that. So it's cool, and I want to see more people to check it out and tag me when they make their videos so I can see what they're doing with it.
There you go. That's one for that's audience participation. That's good.
I love that. I love that. Absolutely.
Wicked. Yeah. So these are like recycled, aren't they? They're made from bits and chunks of cymbals and so on.
Yeah. And it's part of the whole like Dream program where they have that, you know, with cracked cymbals or unwanted cymbals and things like that, where, you know, you can bring it to your dealer and you know, you can get some credit towards your next purchase, which is really cool. So things do get recycled, reused, and regrooved, so to speak.
Yes, and we will be running that at this stage. It's not quite up and running just yet, but
Yeah.
watch this space because we will be looking into doing that.
Yeah,
here at
fantastic.
Andertons as well. Yeah, wicked. It's like the kind of like live drum and bass sound that you know, I guess many producers would kill for, but you know, it gives you the freedom to express that kind of weird stuff. You know, with your accessories and whatsoever in a live setting. It's great.
Yeah, it's
Cool
really
little
cool.
bits.
I like that, and you're seeing a lot of people doing some really hip stuff of now taking all the electronic sounds and the super sampled sounds, and now it's going back to the root, and people are replicating it and duplicating it now live.
I remember reading this interview in the last edition of Drummer Magazine. You know, it had Emmanuel Capella on the cover.
Yeah, she's fantastic, by the way.
She is.
She's amazing.
And there was an interview with another drummer. I can't remember his name, unfortunately, but he said he would rather spend like 24 hours trying to make a fire hydrant, or like a fire extinguisher, sound good for a live sample than just go and pick one out of a library.
Find it.
And that's interesting. Like I think people are starting to, like you say, that's starting to come back around. I mean, do you use electronics if you have to yourself, or would you prefer to do stuff like this?
I prefer. I mean, I've definitely messed with them a lot, and there's definitely with some of the groups I'm playing, I'm not running Ableton, but I am playing to the Ableton tracks.
Yeah, sure.
And the musical director is doing it. But I just for me, it's like I only have a certain amount of time in this life, and I want to be a mad scientist. I really want to get down and just say, I want people to guess what it is. Like if we put a mic on this cymbal very close and get it really hot and just thump it like that, or just do that. When you play it back, it's scary. It's demonic. And I think that's exciting. That I want people. I'm in a position now where I'm starting to be able to write and record my own music, which I hadn't been in the place because I was always working for other people. And I'm working on these improvised compositions of like the rhythmist concept of doing electronic music, but with all organic stuff, a bag of chips, or flushing the toilets and playing it backwards and stuff like that. And I think that's really exciting because we can do that. Anyone can do that. I mean, just what you can do with your phone now is really exciting. And you can even get some really good sounds that way. So that's something I like because it's exciting. It's kind of flattering if someone hears something and they go, "Wow, where'd you get that sample? Or what package was that?"
Right. And you're like,
"No, we did that."
Yeah. That was my my Snacker Jacks or whatever. That was
exactly.
was my toilet brush. That's it. And that's cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll probably wrap it up there. Thank you so much for being here to talk to us today. We're going to do a couple of videos with Scott, hopefully later on, where we're going to talk about more of the cymbals in detail. Do you want to play us out, if you wouldn't mind?
I'll try.
Does that sound good?
I'll do my best.
No pressure. It's only on video.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That's my favorite part, is to look back at all the silly things that I say. At this point, I don't even watch anything anymore.
No.
It's better off that way. It's better for everyone, actually.
Never check the comment section.
Yeah, nope. I know. All right. Let's see how we're feeling.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
No worries. How was that for you boys?
Yeah. Really good. Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching the Andertons drum channel. Hope you enjoyed it. But if you're a guitar player or a bass player, you play keyboards, or you're into music technology, we've got other YouTube channels that you might be interested in, and I'll put links to those in the description below. Anyway, if you want to find out more about the products we showed in this video, please click up here. If you'd like to watch another video from the drum channel, please click over here. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt like this one, or in lots of other colors, click down here. And finally, if you'd like to subscribe to the Andertons drum channel, please click down here. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.